What is up, everybody? Hopefully, I'm able to be heard. We'll find out when a few people get in here. But we're going to go over basically the receipts to the Odd incident. Some of this will be repetitive for a lot of people that have seen and kind of followed along with this incident. Some of this will be new to everybody. Um, but there were some people when I posted something in the community page about the fact that he was terminated. There was some comments about prove it and this and that, and I was planning on doing this anyway. I just had to wait to get the forms, do my open records request, and wish the ladies at the city hall. That's one thing I do want to say. I'm not going to mention her name, but she's the clerk. Obviously, she's a public servant. I think she is great at what she does. Every request I've put in, she's handled it in a timely fashion, professional fashion. She's always polite. Um, Actually, I will give her name since she is a public servant. Her name's Sandra Haggard, City Court Clerk, Commerce City Court Clerk. If you want to give her a compliment, please do. Um, but we did a few people in here. There's a few of you in here. Did a few more. Obviously, like I said, I have receipts. I have your receipts anytime. What's up, L3? We're going to get to those. Hopefully, L3, since you're here, I need you to let me know if, oh shit, don't hit that. Tell me if you can hear this. Could you hear that? Audio playing? Detective Sergeant King? Damn. For whatever reason, StreamYard is not letting me play the audio of Odd's interview with IA. I've been working on it for about the last hour trying to get it to pull up through StreamYard, but it won't. But it's all broke down in here pretty much. Anyway, I just will just go ahead and get into it. Let's make this bigger. So this is from Lieutenant Chris Holly after I called him and informed him of what happened. He had already spoke to Og, obviously, if you've seen the video. But on Thursday, March 28th, I received a phone call from Officer Og asking for advice regarding an incident with a First Amendment auditor. Stated Shane Quiros approached his vehicle, started yelling and cussing at him. I told him the best thing to do was ignore him. On Friday, March 29th, Sergeant Burnett called to notify me that Shane Quiros came to the department to file a complaint about the incident. She advised him to contact me Monday on April 2nd. On Monday, Shane Quiros called my office to make me aware of the incident to file a complaint. His complaint was Officer Og's comments to him during the incident. He stated Og called him a child molester numerous times and called him a white supremacist. He also expressed concern Og may have entered ABC Pawn and told them he was a child molester. On Tuesday, April 2nd, I had a brief meeting with Shane Quiros in the department lobby. He picked up the complaint forms to fill out. I told him to bring the forms back when he had them completed, but I did not need the forms to start the investigation. I watched the body camera recording of the incident. Og did call Quiros a child molester and a white supremacist. He also went inside ABC Pawn and solicited a trespass. For those of you that have said multiple times that soliciting a trespass is not a thing, it may not be illegal. When I said it's illegal to solicit a trespass, maybe I misspoke, but it's absolutely unethical and against their department policy, as you'll see. He also went inside the ABC Pawn and solicited a criminal trespass warning for their business. During the conversation, he told the staff at ABC Pawn Quiros was a child molester. Based on what I was told by Officer Og, Shane Quiros, and the body camera recording, and is my opinion, the complaint should be forwarded to you for review. That is to Chief Harmon, Chief of Police. We'll slide back up here. There it is. So this is from Chief Ken Harmon. After he received that from Holly, he sends an email to Detective Sergeant Adam Keene asking him to complete the internal investigation. If you've been following any of this, you've already seen that from my side. Government officials are learning. They are. This is just him asking Detective Sergeant Adam Keene from IA to complete an internal affairs investigation. If you want to pause and read that, go for it. To Officer Ogg, this is from also Chief Harmon to Officer Ogg on the same day. All these emails were sent on the same day. This all moved rather quickly, which surprised me. I have ordered Sergeant Adam Keene to complete an internal investigation into a citizen complaint received by our department. The complainant, Shane Quiros, alleges you engaged in a verbal exchange with him. Further, he claims you made statements to others that may constitute defamation and slander. I'm surprised he said that in the email, to be honest with you. Your actions and statements during your contact with Quiros on March 28, 2024 are the subject of this investigation. The internal investigation will be completed and the full report will be submitted to my office. The purpose of the investigation is to gather a full summary of the facts involved in the incident and the listing of any personnel or departmental policies violated. I expect you to fully and professionally cooperate with the investigation. In an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation, you are not permitted to discuss the details of the incident or the investigation with other members of the CPD other than Sergeant Adam Keene or members of command staff. You are not to make any public statements or discuss the incident or investigation with the general public. Now, I don't have a receipt for what I'm about to say. He did discuss this during this investigation with somebody in the general public. I don't have proof other than word of mouth, but the word of mouth is enough. I don't care that he discussed it, but it just shows his integrity level. So we'll slide back down here. This is also to him. I believe this is from Chief Harmon to Ogg, letting him know exactly the policy violations that were levied against him. Conduct unbecoming an officer, and there's their policy for that, and impartial attitude and actions. There's their policy for that. And then the Commerce City Section Handbook 4.14U, misconduct during or outside of working hours, which is incompatible with public service, or conduct reflecting discredit on the city, which he absolutely did. Details with regard on how the above policies were violated can be found in the document outlining the findings in a IA investigation provided. Employees of the police department are expected to abide and may be disciplined for violation of city rules and regulations or rules and regulations of the police department. And trust me, he was disciplined. We'll get to that. So I'm not just going to read through all this. Reading all this tends to be repetitive, but basically, when it comes to code of conduct, conduct unbecoming an officer, obviously this is their policy for that. And this is the finding. Officer Ogg believed that Shane Quiros had called him a fuck stick, which I did. This led Ogg to tell Shane that he did not talk to child molesters. After Shane confronted Ogg about being called a child molester, Ogg reiterated that to Shane. This part of the interaction was captured on the department's body-worn camera and video from Shane. Officer Ogg also accuses Shane of being a white supremacist, which I still have no idea where that came from. I have a Jewish star tattooed on my hand. No other hate group or gang affiliation tattoos. As he walks into ABC Pond, using names such as this against citizenry substantiates a violation of SOP 170105. So that was sustained conduct unbecoming an officer. Also within the code of conduct policy exists a subsection titled impartial attitude and actions. Now, people that think that it's soliciting a trespass is not a thing. There's no such thing as soliciting a trespass. Yes, in the video, I was technically wrong when I said it's illegal for him to solicit a trespass. He can't be criminally charged for soliciting a trespass. But soliciting a trespass to benefit yourself as an officer, the department, or, kind of throw your weight around is absolutely not only a policy violation, but unethical, as we will see. So this is impartial attitude. It states all members and employees will remain completely impartial with their attitudes and actions towards all persons coming in contact to the department. After watching the available footage and knowing previous interactions with Shane Quiros, it is, in my opinion, this affected Officer Odd's behavior towards Shane. Being that Odd was aware of the criminal history of Shane, which I have no criminal history, he was aware of charges. I have no criminal convictions other than an underage DUI when I was 19 years old. After watching the available footage, blah, blah, Officer Odd was quick to solicit the business for a criminal trespass warning and used his perception of Shane in an attempt to possibly sway the business into agreeing to a criminal trespass warning. This perception that is acknowledged through Odd and Shane's interaction leads to a violation of SOP 1701-05 being sustained. If you want to hear about soliciting trespasses, if you don't think that soliciting a trespass is wrong, for one, a violation of most, if not all, department policies, here it is, black and white. They sustained a complaint because he went in to quickly solicit the business for a criminal trespass warning and used his perception of Shane in an attempt to possibly sway the business into agreeing to a criminal trespass warning. This perception that is acknowledged through Odd and Shane's interaction leads to a violation. Jesus Christ. You can't just go into a business because you don't like the fact that I'm there with you. If you feel like I'm bothering you, which we bothered each other. He bothered me. I called him a fuck stick to my wife. He called me a child molester. It was mutual. Every bit of our interaction was mutual. He didn't leave, which is also talked about into this. I wish I could play that audio, but there's a summary of the audio, so we'll get to that. Officer Odd's conduct by calling Shane a child molester. This is the last one. I believe it's for the this is subsection misconduct during or outside working hours. Officer Odd's conduct by calling Shane a child molester, even if he was also being called a fuckstick, a dipshit, reflects poorly on the department and more broadly the city as a whole. His actions in seeking a criminal trespass warning and relaying his perception of Shane as a child molester to the business owner reflected poorly on the operation of the city as well. With these actions, a violation of the Commerce City Handbook description Class 1 offenses is sustained. All right, so this is going to be out of order in just a second, but this is basically the summary from Detective Sergeant Adam King's internal investigation. Shane came to CPD. We all know that. He filed. Chief Harmon instructed me to conduct an internal affairs investigation. You accept your part in the account as made, so I was part of it. Look, L3, here's what I got to say about my part in the encounter. Just a little while ago, after I was coming back from an appointment, passed the commerce officer. I waved at her. She waved back. I have no issues with any officer in the department other than Officer Gonzalez, Gonzo, who Odd talked to on the phone, the first one that he called in the video. He's definitely under investigation by me as far as I'm concerned. He just doesn't know it yet. Well, actually, he does because I let one of his officers know yesterday that he's next on my list. But the rest of the department, I don't have an issue with. The reason I even called Odd a dipshit that day was because he threatened 8 months prior, as backup on the Emerson call. He threatened to take me to jail for standing on my property after the stop was over, after they gave me my ticket. I'm flipping them off, telling them to kick rocks. And Emerson says, don't do something to get yourself taken to jail. I said, I'm not going to jail. And Odd says, you're about to. And I never heard that until I got the body cam footage. I didn't hear it at the moment. He also says some disparaging shit. All this is still on my channel. His body cam from that incident is on my channel. I think he calls me just an idiot that'll never grow up or something like that. So that's the only reason I called him a fuckstick. Had he never said a word about taking me to jail or what he said before he turned his body camera off that day at the Emerson incident, I wouldn't have said anything to him. I would have waved at him. I haven't been flipping officers off in commerce. So like, yeah, absolutely. I'll accept my part in baiting him into this. I absolutely baited his dumbass in to losing his fucking job, which we will get to. And a lot of people don't agree with my tactics, my fishing tactics. I have decided that other than Officer Gonzalez, who, if I see Officer Gonzalez, I will follow him for the duration of his shift. I will follow him everywhere he goes. I will park where he parks, far enough away not to be a threat to him, but I will be on him like white on rice if I see him. Other than him, I have no issues with the Commerce Police Department. Everything that happened with this incident, so far as to this point, has been handled the right way, as we'll see. But the only issue I have right now is with Gonzalez, who also threatened to come up there to ABC Pond and take me to jail for simply cussing on the sidewalk, and also called me a child molester. I know you don't fault me, buddy. I don't dislike law enforcement either, but I like inside of me, and I'm going to get back to this, but inside of me, I'm conflicted because part of me feels like, because of what happened to me with those false allegations and my 2 years and 2 months in jail and being acquitted, and the police not even taking the detectives not even taking the stand in my trial, that those bad cops that did that to me are still out there. Detective Langley still works for Clayton County Police Department. Like, there was nothing done to them, and there was nothing I could do to them. And that time, I wasn't an activist or whatever you want to consider us. So I'm conflicted inside because part of me says, okay, it's not your business to worry about Commerce and what they're doing. But then the other part of me says, I fucking live here. It's absolutely my business. It's absolutely my business to decide if I want to bait somebody to see if they're stupid enough to step over the line, then that's what I'm going to do. But on the other hand, sometimes I feel like it's not my battle, and then I feel like it is my battle. I'm conflicted in it because I don't dislike law enforcement. I dislike law enforcement that abuse their authority, just like you stated right there. The poor policing. That's but I hate to quote Emma Jansen press because I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's right when he says a good cop's worst enemy is a bad cop. And I would take that one step further to say that there are no good cops if there are bad cops allowing them to be there. I mean, there are no good cops if these good cops allow the bad cops to continue, their behavior. Because 9 times out of 10, unless somebody like me or you or other activists bring this to the attention of the department, their partner's not going to. If their partner witnessed all this, they weren't going to bring that attention. That had to be brought by us. So those good cops that are out there to protect and serve still 9 times out of 10 fall short of doing their job properly because they do not call their brothers in blue out. They're gang members, because that's essentially what a lot of them. I mean, not only do they dress like a gang colors, but a lot of them act that way. But this is the incident summary. Let's go ahead and jump into this real quick. One of these is out of order, so I have to kind of skip over something. But came, filed a plea. He reviewed all his body camera. This is, again, Sergeant Adam King, detective of IA. Shane approaches, he tells Aud, turn his body camera on, and asks him, what did you call me? Aud says, like I said, I don't talk to child molesters, but thank you. If you make a scene here, I'll have you CTW'd. Aud begins to walk into ABC Pond. Shane and Aud continue to exchange words about Aud calling him a child molester. As they are walking, Shane can be heard saying, I've been acquitted of all charges, dipshit. I called him a dipshit over a dozen times, apparently. Detective King counted it. When Aud walks in, we all know what he said to them. Gets back into the car, laser detection. We continue to have a verbal dispute, which I can be heard calling Aud a dipshit. And Aud continues to say that I'm a child molester and a white supremacist. Shane continues to stand on the sidewalk, calling Aud a dipshit. Aud then says if a juvenile is out there, he'll take Shane to jail for disorderly conduct. After several minutes of this bickering back and forth, Aud calls Corporal Gonzalez and tells him to come to ABC Pond in case Shane does something stupid. As he is sitting there, the ABC Pond employee comes up, and this is where it's out of order. This is another part of the sustained code of conduct on becoming an officer. I think there was a duplicate in there somewhere. The employees from ABC Pond come out to checks on Aud. He says that he got Emerson fired. Emerson gave him a ticket for something he didn't do. Obviously, those that are watching have seen the videos. If you haven't, go back and look at them. As the conversation ends, you can hear Shane continuing to talk to Officer Odd. Odd then calls Lieutenant Holly. He asks Lieutenant Holly for his input and thoughts on how to deal with Shane. He asks when he should consider his actions disorderly conduct. Excuse me. Odd admits to Lieutenant Holly that he called him a child molester. Lieutenant Holly offers advice of driving away would be the best action. In the audio of Detective Sergeant King's interview with Odd, he asked Odd, he said, I know you weren't told directly or given a direct order by Gonzalez or Lieutenant Holly to leave, but why didn't you leave? And his response, I don't think is in this summary. There's some of the stuff that they talked about as far as soliciting trespass in the summary, but his response to that was, well, the ABC pawn guys were still there, and I wasn't going to leave while they were still there. He was protecting them, essentially, is what he was trying to get at. But then he stayed after they left. So I wish fucking StreamYard would participate and let me play that. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong, but it's he talked himself into losing his job during that interview. I believe had he not conducted himself, but had he had some different answers for some of the questions in that interview, he might have been, all these would have been sustained, and he might have had a chance to go through retraining. But he just lies, and they caught him in lie after lie. They caught him in lies about why he told me he was going to solicit, he was going to have me trespass. But then on the phone, he told Lieutenant Holly, I went in and asked them if they wanted him trespassed. And I think that's in this summary. So let's just keep going. I'll shut my mouth for a second, continue to read with my speech impediment. As the conversation ends, I was called Lieutenant Holly how to deal with it. He asked him when he should consider his actions disorderly conduct. Odd admits to Lieutenant Holly that he called him a child molester. I already did that. Odd tells Holly that he told Shane, the people here at ABC Pawn are not going to put up with it. If you come on this property and you cursing and yelling and screaming, they're going to CTW from the property. Odd acknowledges to Lieutenant Holly that Shane did walk away. They continued to talk for a bit longer before ending the conversation. This is about our meeting. Shane Kyrgios met me at CPD. We spoke in my office from Shane's complaint. I knew that there was more to the beginning of the interaction than the body camera shown. I asked him to elaborate on that. He stated that he and his wife were sitting on the corner of State Street and Broad Street. They were sitting there when Odd drove by. Shane stated that he told his wife, hey, honey, there goes fuck stick. He stated Odd responded with, that's funny, coming from a child molester. That is exactly how it happened. Odd says that I said, hey, fuck stick. And he says, I'm sorry, I don't talk to child molesters, but thank you. But that's not exactly how it happened. Odd then went and parked the ABC Pawn. Shane then walked up there to where Odd was parked. Shane asked Odd what he said. Odd repeated, I don't talk to child molesters. Shane goes on to explain the interaction, which is depicted in the body camera. He did not deviate from what is visible in the footage. I asked about any contact with Odd since the incident. The only contact he had previously was when former corporal. So again, this is 2 for 2 with Commerce Police Department, bad officers that I have helped to remove. What's up, Cajun? 2 for 2. I have 2 complaints filed, 2 officers gone. Now, Emerson wasn't terminated. Emerson was later forced to resign a couple months after the investigation. Well, actually, it was like a month and a half after the investigation. And I don't believe he was forced to resign because of the violation, the First Amendment violation that they sustained, that he committed on me. I believe that he was forced to resign because of his attitude and, his handling of the situation after the investigation, during the investigation, from what I've heard. And I do have a source. I'll say this because I know if there's not one watching right now, there will be one that sees this later. Commerce Police Department, there is somebody inside your police department that I am acquainted with, that I have personal contact with, that I know things, that I hear things. And it's not about, oh, they're corrupt, they're stealing money, they're this, they're that. I knew that Odd was forced. When I went, it was at least 4 or 5 months after the incident that I actually went down, because they said they were going to call me after the Emerson incident and give me the findings of the complaint and tell me what happened. So let's jump back to the Emerson incident before I continue with this. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but all this kind of matters to me a little bit. The Emerson incident, I filed the complaint. They investigated the complaint. They sustained the complaint. They sent him to retraining. They didn't bump him down. I believe they let him keep his position as corporal, but they changed his shift, and the whole department actually had to go through retraining. And they made him basically write an email to the entire department explaining his side of that story. And in that, which I've posted, you can go back on my community timeline, the email's there. He talks about how he doesn't trust most of the people in the department, so he's not going to tell them how the whole situation affected him and his family, so it can later be used against him. So then later on, I found out there were a lot of officers that had turned their backs on him because he was an idiot, because he handled it horribly. Instead of saying, yeah, I got baited, I let the guy bait me, I let him fucking get me out of character with his language, I let him kind of, talk to me poorly, and I wrote him a ticket for a First Amendment that violated his First Amendment. Instead of just saying that, he fought it. He even suggested, if you go back and read that community report where I posted his email to the department, he even suggested that nobody in capital letters can tell me how me giving him the finger does not violate the aggressive driving statute in Georgia. And he capitalized nobody, meaning Chief Harmon, Lieutenant Holly, command staff. So I believe that's why he was forced to resign. He was given an option: you're going to be terminated or you're going to resign. You can go about your business doing something else. But I also know that, and here you go to whoever from Commerce Police Department that ends up seeing this, I also know that he has been blackballed. He's been blackballed from, and I'm happy about that. I'm not going to say if it's Chief Harmon. I don't want to get anybody in any type of legal trouble. I don't believe there's legal trouble. From what I understand, Emerson actually has paperwork showing that he's tried to get employment and has been blackballed by, I'll say, command staff from Commerce Police Department from getting employment in law enforcement in the area. But obviously that's what started all this. Where was I at? I was down here. Shane allowed me to watch the video that he had of the incident. The video shows his perspective. Shane's video only essentially adds his audio, which was indiscernible at times from Officer Odd's body camera. In the video, you can hear Shane call Odd a dipshit over a dozen times. I explained the process to Shane. He left afterwards. Now, here is a summary of his deal with Odd, which actually this doesn't have all of it. Maybe it does. I spoke with Officer Odd in my office at CPD. I asked Odd to describe the interaction from the point of contact until no contact. Odd stated that he was patrolling down the street when he heard Shane say, "Hey, fuck stick." Odd then said, "Leave me alone. I don't talk to child molesters." He then went and ran speed at ABC Pond. While running speed, Shane approached him again. Odd told him he did not want to talk to him because he was a child molester. Not fucking true. He stated that he told Shane to not make a scene on this private property because the owners would not deal with it. It's not what he said. Go back and watch the video. This is what he tells him in the internal affairs investigation. He tells him, "I told Shane not to make a scene on this private property because the owners would not deal with it. Odd said to me, if you make a scene here, I'm going to CTW. I'm going to have you CTW." Odd stated Shane began cussing and talking to him in a demeaning way after being called a child molester and a white supremacist. Odd then went in and asked if the man was going to make a scene, if he wanted him off the property, which is not what Odd said. This is what Odd tells Detective King. Odd, we've all that have seen the video know that's not what he said. Odd then went in and asked if the man was going to make a scene, if he wanted him off the property. Odd went in there, and I believe his exact words were almost, "Are you cool with CTWing this guy off your property? Not if he makes a scene, not if he's acting disorderly. Are you cool with me CTWing this guy off your property?" Go back and watch the video. Odd told the guy inside ABC Pond he was charged with child molestation. He actually said he's a child molester, and then he later said, yeah, he was charged with child molestation. Odd then went back to his car. There's no deviation from body camera footage from the rest of the encounter. I asked Odd Has he had any run-ins with Shane after this? Ogg stated that Shane did drive by several minutes later and gave himself and Corporal Gonzalez, who had arrived, the middle finger. After that, there were no more instances of running into Shane. Okay, here it is. Yes. This is the last part of the conclusion of Ogg's statement. I then asked him about soliciting the trespass for a CTW. This is important. Criminal trespass warning. He told Shane that he was going to have him CTW'd and asked the business, are you guys cool with CTWing this guy off your property? Ogg told me that Shane had him upset and riled up and was attempting to be reserved and respectful. He stated that it was probably wording that just flew out. He said that in this recorded interview that I have that I can't fucking play because I can't figure out StreamYard. Apparently, I'm mentally R-worded. He said he intended to ask them if this is what they wanted. I told him that the perception created by the appearance of soliciting for a criminal trespass warning is that he is attempting to use his authority to possibly get him in jail. I asked Ogg if he agreed with the perception. He stated that he agreed and that it could be perceived that way. Ogg stated that he is familiar with the owners and knew that they wouldn't be okay with him cussing, which is when he got out of the car. I asked Ogg if there's anything else in the matter needed to be discussed. And then he left my office. So again, this is code of conduct. Sustain. Now let's get back to the meat and bones. This is, I just saw the video of We the People University on your story with the slander. This is the follow-up. This is the final follow-up on this. Well, unless he decides he wants to appeal this. And because so there was if you go on Fox 5 YouTube channel, Fox 5 Atlanta, type in Commerce, the police department, Fox 5, just a few months ago, there was a story on Fox 5 about one of the Commerce police departments falsifying DUIs. That officer was placed on leave and then terminated. Then he got a lawyer and he got himself reinstated, but on leave with pay. So right now, that officer that was fired, who was found to have been falsifying multiple DUIs, was reinstated with pay, but still on leave. So he's not on duty. He's off duty, suspended with pay, but he was terminated. So let's read this real quick, and I'll tell you what Ogg has the ability to do. I don't know. I'm going to keep looking into this, obviously, and keep up with it. But Devil Road, I appreciate you coming in here and checking this out. This is from Chief Harmon to Garrett Ogg on April 5th. See how quickly this moved? He was fired 3 days after the internal investigation started. America is so weird. It is. So this is from Chief of Police Ken Harmon to Officer Ogg 3 days after the investigation started, 4 days after I filed my complaint. This is why I'll say this afterwards. Dear Officer Ogg, there's this PO box if you want to send him anything. I wouldn't advise that. Please don't send him anything. Don't send him mean letters telling him that he is horrible. Dear Officer Ogg, I've considered the results of the internal investigation into your actions on March 28th, 2024. Further, I have weighed the severity of those actions and determined, after consideration of the nature and gravity of the offenses, its relationship to your assigned duties and responsibilities, your work record, which I'm probably going to have to pull that jacket because that's the only thing I haven't done on him. I haven't pulled his complaint jacket. I just pulled this complaint. And the impact your actions have had on the reputation and legitimacy of the police department. Based on these considerations, I am terminating your employment with the Commerce Police Department effective this date. Please arrange to turn in any equipment issued to you by the City of Commerce to Lieutenant Chris Holly. You are hereby notified that you may have certain rights under the enclosed copy of the City of Commerce's grievance policy. If you have any questions regarding your grievance rights, please contact the HR office. You are given the opportunity to explain your conduct in writing and attach your explanation to this termination notice. Please advise if you have any questions. Regards. So, it happened on March 28th. I filed my formal complaint on the 2nd. Chief Holly, I talked to Chief Holly on the 1st. So within 4 days, this guy's out the door. I'm sure his jacket has more than this. Well, see, here's the thing. Apparently, he's been in law enforcement for years. Um, he says that in his audio recording during the IA investigation. He hasn't been in law enforcement for years here. He's a few years maybe, but he hasn't been doing it. He says he's been doing this for many years. Um, his jacket here, I don't know what it holds. I'm going to find out, but it's going to be hard for me to track down any of his jackets from other departments, which hopefully I can get them to give me his resume. I believe I can and do open records request for his resume to find out what other departments he's worked for and pull his jackets from that. But obviously, your work record being a part of the consideration of this, there was something going on. So I'm going to pull. I've been bothering Miss Sandra at City Hall quite a bit this past month on these, and it's not my fault because they were supposed to include this in the last open records request that I put in, but I guess it got slipped through the paperwork or whatever, because I didn't get this until today. I had to go back in and file another one yesterday because they didn't include this last week. But as it sits, I am. Let me start with this. I've had so many people talk about. Yeah, I believe his resume is public record as part of his employment packet. I hope it is. People say, "Oh, you have to sue. You have to sue, right? That's the only way to change this. Sue the department." But you're not taking money out of Aug's pocket. You're not taking money out of Lieutenant Holly's pocket. You're not taking money out of Chief Harmon's pocket. You are simply costing the city taxpayers money, the city that I live in. So I'm conflicted on a lawsuit, even though I do have representation at this time. I'm conflicted on the lawsuit. I'll go ahead and put my plan out there, even though some people from the city might see this. My plan is to to ask them to make a public apology. Make the apology louder than the disrespect. And yes, I'm the one that posted this, but him going in there and telling people that I was a child molester, which is unfounded and untrue, had already started to spread. I didn't post my video until 6 days after that incident. I had 3 people call me that had heard about the incident. This is a small town. Word travels fast. I had no choice. People say, "Oh, you're the one that put it out there. You wouldn't have gotten, all these people wouldn't know that you were an accused child molester at one point if you wouldn't have put it out there." I had to put it out there. The only thing that was going around town was his side of the story. Oh, this child molester was out here harassing me, and I had to get him CTW'd or try to get him CTW'd. So I had to put my video out there, and not only to help protect my reputation and to give my side of that story, but because I had to expose this shit. So I have a call in to the city manager, and I'm trying to have a sit down. Now, I've been trying to talk to the mayor, the city manager, and the mayor and the city attorney for the last month with no avail. I don't believe they want to speak to me. And it would be in their best interest to speak to me, because if I'm giving a public apology, and that could be as simple as them going on the Commerce Police Department Facebook page, Commerce City Facebook page, and apologizing for this incident, it would be over for me, other than Gonzalez. In case you're watching, Gonzo, it would be over for me. There would be no lawsuit. That would be justice served to my satisfaction. People, I've had comments saying on multiple videos, I see comments, people gotta sue, you gotta sue, you gotta sue. Lawsuits don't really change anything. I got this guy fired without a lawsuit. Most of the time, it takes a lawsuit to get an officer fired. This simple complaint form, same thing happened with Emerson. The simple complaint form Yeah, exactly right. The simple complaint form handled that business for me. I'm not in this for money. I don't do any of this for money. I'm not out here like, fucking Michael Kaiser, Killer Kaiser likes to think that all First Amendment auditors or whatever you want to call of us. I call myself an activist, a First Amendment activist. Um are just in it for a quick check. They won't go away money. They they're trying to get, a false arrest or beat up so they can sue. I have none of that is my intentions. None of it. Never has been. My intentions have been to find and expose bad cops. And how do you do that? Multiple ways. How do I do that? Sometimes I give them the finger. I drive past them and simply give them the finger for no reason. Because a good cop is going to take that finger and wave at you or just ignore it and keep driving. A bad cop is going to come pull you over. And that's who I want to talk to. With Og, yeah, I called him a fuck stick where he could hear it. I wasn't talking to him, but I called him a fuck. Excuse me. Let me do this sip of this body armor. I called him a fuck stick where he could hear it. Absolutely. Which baited him into start defaming and slandering me unfoundedly. Whether you agree with those tactics or not, they work. That's two bad officers. Two bad officers in 9 months. 9 months now. That I didn't get them fired. They got themselves fired. I just, assisted. As far as Commerce goes, like I said before, there's one officer and he knows who he is. I'm sure he'll see this because they've been monitoring my channel, even though I haven't been posting much. Because look, I was out there days after this, the incident, before well, it was after my internal affairs meeting with Sergeant Keene. I stood out there in front of the police department because it's connected to the fire department and they were doing training and I was watching them and like some officers pulled in. I waved. I wasn't recording, wasn't doing anything. Didn't flip nobody off, waved. Actually had a little conversation with one of the officers as she was pulling back out after she pulled in. The only issue I have with any officer in Commerce right now is Gonzalez. And I think he I don't think he owes me an apology. I think he needs to be brought up to speed on disorderly conduct. Because the reason, and here's, I'll explain this because again, I know that city officials have monitored, my content. The reason he needs to be brought up to speed on disorderly conduct is because he threatened. He said that when he got there, if I was still standing and cussing on the street sidewalk, he said nobody had to be present. You have to go back and listen to it carefully because it interrupts him a little bit here and there while he's trying to talk. But he says there doesn't have to be anybody around if he's acting disorderly. If he's acting disorderly in public, we can arrest him. And if he's acting disorderly in public, when I get back up there, we'll arrest him. And that's my issue with him right now. Not only that, but he also called me a child molester. He has also referred to me as a child molester inside the department since this incident. And yes, I know that for a fact. Like I said, I have friends in the county that we live in that work for law enforcement that are just 2 sheriff deputies. I have a couple friends in the county over, but I also have somebody in Commerce Police Department that I'm not saying they're, giving me information that they shouldn't, that they're probably giving me information that the higher ups wouldn't want them to. And it hasn't been much. It's just been a couple things. One, the Og was discussing this with people he shouldn't have been discussing with during the investigation. 2, that Og was fired. I've known he was fired since 2 days after he was fired. And 3, that Gonzalez before and since has still referred to me as a child molester. So, we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. Hopefully we find them. Like I said, when I do, Gonzalez is on my radar. Once I find Gonzalez out here on patrol, I am going to follow him for his entire shift. I will be like on him, like white on rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm. I will go to every place he decides to sit and run traffic, and I will sit somewhere that is appropriate and watch him. I will watch him. I may approach him, try to have a civil conversation. Maybe we can talk it out. Maybe we can't. But Odd is under investigation. In as far as I'm concerned, I might change my channel name to The Final Boss because I'm 2 for 2, and it may become 3 for 3 depending on how this whole Gonzalez investigation turns out. But that's basically it as far as the I'll show it again as far as the termination form here. Those of you that may not have seen it, termination form. He was terminated April 5th. 3 days. Why is there somebody ringing my doorbell? Give me 1 second, please. Okay, guys. I have to end this because my wife locked the door. But those of you that came in and checked all this out, I appreciate it. L3, I love you, man. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, if I ever won, if I did have to sue and I won, I would donate it. I would not keep the money. I would donate it. All you guys that are still here, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody coming in. Commerce PD, Gonzo, Odd. I know you're following me and you're probably watching because you're unemployed and ain't got shit to do right now. Fuck you, buddy. Bye, everybody. Hey, of course, L3.